regular meeting of the Board of Education of Berners Township. Notice of the time and place of this meeting were provided, and copies of that resolution were forwarded to the official newspapers as designated by the Board of Education, and the Township Clerk, and a copy of the notice is posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education offices. For those members of the public who can't attend our meeting in person, the live stream link to the meeting is posted on the district website, www.bernersbtboe.com. We very much welcome input from the public. There are 2 times during regular meetings that the public is invited to speak. One time is early in the meeting before the board votes, when you may speak about any item that's listed on tonight's agenda. Towards the end of the meeting, there's another public forum to address any matter of public concern related to the schools. When you approach the microphone, please state your name and address. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes duration. No participant may speak more than once during a given public comment session. The first public comment session will be limited to 30 minutes, and the second will be unlimited. In order to run efficient meetings and to allow maximum opportunity for members of the public to speak, the board reserves the right to set a different time limit for individual comments and an overall time limit for the public comment portion of the agenda. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members individually. And no public comments will be accepted before 7 p.m. Please understand that public comment portions of our agendas are not structured as question and answer sessions, but are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. The board administration will respond to public comments to the extent possible. Any board response to public comments will be generally addressed during board forum or committee reports. However, all comments are considered and will be investigated and addressed as appropriate. Please be courteous and mindful of the rights of others when speaking. Comments may not be abusive, obscene, threatening, or irrelevant. Please understand that students and employees have specific legal and privacy protections. The board is not permitted to respond in public to comments about students and employees. Please also understand that the board will not be responsible for the content of comments made by members of the public. Members of the public are cautioned that they are speaking at their own risk, and any personally directed statements they make may subject them to legal liability to the affected individual. If it's necessary for the board to go into exec session at the end of the meeting, we will provide an estimated length of time for the session and whether any action is anticipated to be taken upon returning to public session. And with that, we will have roll call.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Trickle? Ms. Carrara?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
Mr. Romolano?
Yes.
We are now up to our student representative. Joseph, do you have anything for us?
Of course. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mrs. White. So our sports teams now are entering into the state championship part of the season, so I have some exciting updates in that regard, along with a few school notes on going for free coming on. So I'm thrilled to announce that our starting point guard and captain Luke Kreitz has surpassed 1,000 career points, becoming the first Ridge Boys basketball player to achieve this milestone in over a decade. And the team has been working hard on their we over me mentality, and their dedication is showing with their 26 records so far this season. The Ridge Boys hockey team is currently playing their first state playoff game against Wall Township, and as of 30 minutes ago, they were leading 4-2. So despite a tough loss in the Skyrim Conference Cup to first-seeded Bridgewater Raritan, our boys are showing resilience so far in the state tournament. The Ridge girls fencing team is continuing their dominant season. They now stand at 13-1 after routing Morris Knowles 20-7 in the first round of their Sweet 16 championship. They recently earned the title of District 5 State Section champions. Meanwhile, the boys team pulled off an impressive 17-10 victory over previously undefeated private school Don Bosco in the state quarterfinals, and they are now 14-1 as well. Both the boys and girls track teams have been persevering through some challenges as of late in their championship season, and the boys finished second overall in the group state championship in the 4x4 relay. And between both teams, Ridge will be sending 4 relay teams to the state meet of champions this upcoming Sunday in Staten Island. And finally, the Ridge boys swim team secured a tremendous come-from-behind upset victory over Summit in the state section championship last February 13th. They scored 86-84, and they won on the final relay, so it was pretty cool to watch. As always, all of our teams are showing out and performing well, and most importantly, with class. Flipping over from sports to extra school activities, the Ridge Drama Club is excited to present Rogers and Hammerstein's Cinderella on February 27th, 28th, and March 1st. So that's this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in the Performing Arts Center. And the class of 2027 student Gov is launching a Chimney Rock Pizza fundraiser that actually started today, and they're running all the way through March 9th. And the pickup will be on March 13th if you're interested in supporting them. The Ridge Forensics team competed at some major tournaments at different colleges, such as the Penn and Stanford Invitationals, the Harvard National Speech and Debate Tournament, and the Bridgewater Raritan Invitational, where they placed first in team scoring. As well, the applications for the senior-only May and June internship have opened up to all of our seniors. It gives seniors the opportunity to attend an internship for 4 days out of the week from May 19th throughout June, offering a lot of real-world experience before graduation for students who would like to take advantage of the opportunity. And we've now had 4 phone-free practice days in school. We had them February 11th, 12th, the 20th, and the 21st. And I found personally that students have been more engaged. The lunchroom especially is much more talkative, with card games popping up all around the study halls and lunch. And in my opinion, overall focus has noticeably improved. And on February 20th, we were down to just 9 phones being confiscated for the day by the administration, which I thought was a pretty low number considering the size of our school. So I think students are getting much more acclimated to it, and overall the feedback has been much more positive than I was anticipating. So I thought that was very positive. And now we move on to our full phone-free pilot next month, every day. And that one I should be able to continue providing you with more positive updates across the board. So as always, thank you, and I look forward to next time.
Thanks, Joseph. It's always wonderful to hear all the different things that are going on. And as always, if you need the moment to report them, feel free. Although we do have a really great presentation that we are going to be going through at City Governors. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for inviting us once again tonight. I promised to be very brief. The joke was, Nick came in before and he said to me, "So how long is your presentation going to be tonight?" I remember from last year, so we will definitely be brief. Last year, we came and we spoke to you about the Special Services Department. And one of the things we discussed with all of you last year was the many different hats that we wear in the Special Education Department, our Special Services Department. We do INRS, 504s, struggling students. We sometimes do training for special ed and gen ed teachers. But this year we're going to speak mostly about what we do as far as special ed is concerned in the Special Education Department. So in case you don't know who are we, I'm Jean O'Connell, I'm the director. I oversee the department. I supervise the vocational program at the high school along with child study team members. Lisa Vitale-Stanzione is a supervisor. She's our K-5 special supervisor. Lisa comes to us with great expertise in early literacy.
and she works with the people at the elementary level. She also does our LLD programs, our Bridges programs, our RCR, ICR, ICS, and research rooms. She does INRS, 504s, and as I mentioned before, some of the training. Dr. Allison Reed has also been with us for a very long time. Allison was a speech therapist in our ABA program, and that's how she started. Allison went on to get her doctoral program in applied behavioral analysis. So Allison works on our CBAC program. She oversees that program from preschool to age 21. She also oversees our preschool program and, of course, our related services program, because she does know the speech and other pieces of that. Stephanie Ward, too, has been with the district for quite a few years. She was a self-contained teacher herself. She works with the 612 special education population. She works with our LLD, our Bridges programs. She also does the INRS and 504. She also works as far as training general ed and special education teachers. So what is special ed and why is it so important? Well, in 1975, Congress first recognized the need and became federal law to make sure that local schools would serve the educational needs of students with disabilities. That law was passed at that time and became the Education for All Children Act. That was the first special education law that came into effect. That law was amended, and in 1990, the law became the Individual with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, and that's what we refer to today. The difference at that point is they have more parent now involvement, transition services for students at age 16, and the state of New Jersey is age 14, and it also incorporates general education teachers, because we need to know what's going on within the general education population. Because remember, we have students in special ed, but our ultimate goal is to see if we can get students back into the general education classes. There are 14 categories for students that can be eligible in classification. Once a child is determined to be classified under one of those categories, then we need to develop an individual plan for that student. That's called an IEP. So one of the things that we continue to monitor, because a lot of what we do is a numbers game, we need to know what happens in special education is that our numbers continuously change. What our numbers are today can be very different from what they can be tomorrow. So each October, the state requires that we do what we call an October count. They break down how many students we have altogether, and then each one of these students are broken down by classification. So what we try to do is take a look at this, and you can see what we're doing here. We want to make sure, are there trends? Are we going up in certain areas? Are we going down in other areas? Basically, our numbers have not shifted too much. In 2020, we had 650 students classified altogether. Now, this year in October, we had 675. But we don't just stop there, because it's not just about our total number of classifications. What we need to know is where these students are classified, and then from there, we need to develop individual programs for these students. When we go down our list, one of the things you're going to see, where I have highlighted, is our students with autism. That number stays relatively high. In 2020, we were at 133. Today, in 2024, in October, we were at 136. You're also going to see this last column that I have here currently. Because what I said to you is our numbers change continuously. We classify students every day if they qualify. We also declassify students. So if you can see here, we had 136 students in October. Our students with autism has gone up to 142 as of last week. Our intellectually impaired, those numbers have stayed basically the same. Communication impaired is another area. When you look across the gamut for the last few years, it has not really shifted all that much. However, if you go down to our multiply disabled, we have seen an increase there. Back in 2020, we had 8 students. Now we're up to 13 students. What does that tell us? It tells us that we may need a program, or we may need different resources to meet the needs of these students. And this is one area that we hope to work on over the summer, because many of these students need more related services than what they currently have. So we take a look at all of these numbers and we make those decisions about where we are and how we're going to move forward. Other health impaired has stayed relatively the same. are ED students that we have seen a rise in, and that rise is mostly at the middle school and the high school. These are the students with anxiety, and those numbers have definitely risen. Another key important area that we want to look at is our preschool students with disabilities. Now, when a child has to be, according to IDEA, at age 3, we have to have a program in place for a child if they're eligible for services. Students at that point are classified preschool disabled. They don't meet one of those categories. Then, at age 5, the students are evaluated again, and then they are placed into one of the 14 categories that I mentioned earlier. Why this number is important? Because it sort of gives us an idea of some of the students that may be moving forward with us. Not necessarily every student that's in our preschool disabled program will move, but a lot of those students will go into one of the other programs that we have listed. As you can see, since COVID, that number has risen, and those numbers have gone up. We've had in 2020, 21, and now we're up to 62 students. Speech has stayed relatively the same, and our SLD, that is a number that we've seen decrease. And we think one of the reasons for that decrease is the amount of intervention that we're doing at the elementary levels. We have the WIN programs that are set out there, so we're taking a look at students really early so we can start to work with those students. We've worked on curriculum changes with them. Lisa's worked with Dave, and they've done a tremendous amount of work, especially in the area of language arts. So we have seen a decrease in those number of students. The other classifications have stayed relatively the same. So another thing we sort of look at is how we compare to the state and how do we compare to other districts around. As you can see, the state's rate is 17.3%, which is relatively high. And at one point, our numbers were, before we started intervention, were up along those levels too. We stayed predominantly around 13%. And as you can see, most of the districts surrounding us stay about the same. Somerset Hills is a smaller district. They have a larger, it's Chatham also. So these are all things that we keep in mind because we want to know, are we doing what's right? Do we need to increase programs? Do we need to decrease programs? So these numbers are super important for us to keep monitoring continuously. So now we want to take a look at our district programs. Now, district programs are different than classification. So just so you know, we can have a student that's classified as autistic, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that student's going to be in our CBAT program. Across our district, we have LLD programs from K to 8. These two, if you take a look at this number, this is another area, and it's something to keep in mind. We have 34, we're up to 45. And what you want to understand is that according to federal law, all of our classes are capped at certain numbers. So we can't have 25 students in a classroom. So this is why numbers are so important to us. The Bridges program has grown a little bit, and we're seeing that slight growth in our K-5. Lisa's working with that program, and we saw going into last year and going into this year, our numbers have grown for those students. Again, here's our preschool numbers and our PALS numbers. Definitely, we had 71, we're up to 79 in those programs. Our CBAT program, K-8, has gone about the same. I mean, it hasn't gone up a tremendous amount, so those are also numbers that we're sort of looking at. Our vocational programs at the high school, both programs have stayed relatively the same. These are students that stay till age 21. They go out to work, they do job work, they do job sampling here, they also do it out in the community. Our ICR numbers, our ICS and research room placements have stayed relatively the same. Speech has been the same. Out of district placements, we're up to about 41 this year. It's going to drop again at the end of this year. That number may seem high, but when you compare it to other districts, that number is relatively low. We make a point in trying to keep students in district. It's always been a key philosophy of mine is to try to develop the programs here as opposed to sending them out. It's expensive to send, number one, it's very expensive to send a student out. We're paying for tuition in another district, and then we have to pay for transportation on top of it. So if we can, we develop the programs here, And I always feel it's better for a child to be in the community that they're going to live in, because these are the people that they really want to get to know. Now, here's another number that we look at, pending referrals. So remember before, I showed you the numbers from October. I showed you the numbers as of last week in February. Now, we have 14 students that have to be evaluated within the next 90 days. So those 14 students in pre-K level can add on to the numbers that I've already shown you. We currently have 26 students, K-12 now, that also have to be evaluated within the next 90 days, so they can fall into one of those categories. So as you can see, these numbers just go, they ebb and flow continuously. So the other thing we kind of wanted to take a look at was where our program's located. And this is something we work on each year, because we don't want to move students in an LLD program for, say, kindergarten through second grade, and then come third grade, we're moving them out to another school. So currently, we've moved all of our LLD students, we did this a few years ago, over to Liberty Corner School. We have 4 classes that are currently running there. When you get up to 6 to 8, and when you go to 9 to 12, we have the sections because those students participate in, just like the students in the Gen Ed, separately they might go to a math class, they might go to a language arts classes. They're self-contained, but they're broken down into each individual subject area. Our Bridges program, as I mentioned to you, that has grown a little bit more at the K-5 level. We have currently 4 classes that are there. Then when you get up to the middle school and high school, we run the program a little bit differently. We don't have a self-contained program at that level, but what we have is those students going into INRS, ICS classes and resource room classes. They are monitored by our DI specialist that goes in and works with the teachers. These students work on a point system, and the philosophy behind this is we don't want to disturb a whole class, but if a child is not available for learning at that time, the child is removed from that classroom. The DI specialist will work with that child until that child is able to be returned. Our preschool programs are located at Mount Prospect. We currently have in our preschool Palace program that's a half-day program. We have 8 classes. That means we're running 4 in the morning, we're running 4 in the afternoon. Our preschool CVAC program is a full-day program, and we have 4 classes full 4 classes at that level. The other programs that we run in CVAC, we have the K-5 at Mount Prospect and Oak Street School. If some of you remember a few years ago, all of these classes were at Mount Prospect. But then Molly was nice enough to take us in over at Oak Street School. And little did she know the 3 classes that we started there have blossomed into 5 classes. And we can anticipate that those numbers are more likely to grow as we go forward. I did break these down a little bit more. Currently at Mount Prospect, we have K, 4th and 5th. And at Oak Street, we still have 1 to 4. So next year, we will be up to grade of 5 there. So those numbers we do anticipate will move a bit. 6-8 is at WAMS. We have 3 classes there. And at the high school 9-12, we have 4 classes. So when we get into these numbers, they look extremely high. You see the numbers of students. But don't forget, when you're looking at ICS and you're looking at research rooms, students can have multiple. So one student can be counted in as an ICS and also as a research, also in research room. So those numbers and the numbers of students seem somewhat higher than in some of the other slides. So we go by section when we count these students, so you can see the numbers that we have here. And this goes higher when we get to the middle school and high school because we're running more classes at that point. Related services, I'm going to turn it over to Allison.
So Jean mentioned earlier about IEPs and the integration of related services. And so related services are a really important part of providing that comprehensive support for our learners with special needs, ensuring that they have access to their education. And so our approach begins with recognizing students that have global delays, communication disorders, motor impairments, and often require that highly specialized instruction. And as Jean said earlier, we have more and more students that are coming in that have that multiple disabilities and global delays. Related services are provided through the Child's Individualized Education Plan, or IEP. It outlines the specific services and supports that each student will receive that they need to access their education and to make that meaningful progress. Our dedicated team of related service professionals brings this to life every day in the classroom. And here you can see our number of full-time and part-time staff that support each of the related service area. So our district behaviorists go across all buildings. They design behavior plans, they analyze data, they collaborate with educators to create a positive, structured environment where students are able to access education within the classroom. The goal of our speech-language specialists are to assess and treat communication disorders, and they work with students with speech and language delays. They build individualized therapy plans to build strong language and social skills in order to access education in the classroom. Our district occupational therapists work on fine motor, on sensory, and adaptive strategies for our learners. They build independence in their daily school and educational activities and routines. Our physical therapists focus on increasing mobility, on increasing strength and coordination, and ensuring safe participation in physical activities around the building and navigation throughout the classroom. They also focus on navigating the hallways, the school building, anything that we need to do from one classroom to another and to be within that classroom. We do have a district-wide teacher of the deaf, who I always have to say is our one therapist who travels through every single building. And she's wonderful. And so her role is to adapt the educational strategies to support language development and communication for our students who are hard of hearing. Where needed, we do have adaptive physical education, and that's for students who need a modified physical education program. We also have PE teachers within the buildings who also help support adaptive physical education for the learners. And these therapists and related service providers really work collaboratively with each other and with the other professionals and teachers within the building to ensure that the interventions in place, the therapy plans that are developed are effective and seamlessly integrated across all environments, again, so they can fully access education and make that meaningful progress that we need.
So we're going to talk a little bit about our CP programs that we have in special education, grade 1 through 5 disability awareness lessons, also unified leadership classes at Bridge, and Thrive. For grade 1 through 5 disability classes and lessons, what we looked at was cultivating some compassion, encouraging some empathy, and also instilling a sense of inclusivity. What we wanted to do is to make sure that students, all students, understood, accepted, had the skills and knowledge and attitude to feel valued within the school setting and included within the school setting. When we looked at that, there were materials and resources. What was designed in collaboration with the director, our assistant superintendent of curriculum instruction, Kristen Cox, and some staff who are in curriculum writing. They have one lesson per trimester in the elementary. There's 3 trimesters, so that's 3 lessons a year. The first trimester lesson is very important. It's the same one for all grade levels. And what that does, it kind of piques the students' interest as well as it unites all the students within each of the 4 elementary schools with the same knowledge, skills, and attitude. Then they broke out and looked at meaningful lessons. And in the meaningful lessons, there's some coaching, there's modeling. There's also active and authentic and collaboration. There's also videos, and there's a lot of time set aside for making connections, both to students' prior knowledge as well as new knowledge. When we look at the topics per grade level, grade 1 talks about physical disabilities, grade 2, visual impairments, grade 3, communication, grade 4, reading, grade 5, hearing. And I would be remiss not to say that in collaboration with everybody's teacher, especially the related service providers, as well as some of the American Sign Language teachers at the high school, came together to help us rewrite them, as well as take a look at them again this summer during the break.
And Kristen did a great deal of work with us in order to get this done, and her gen ed teacher, so we cannot take all the credit for this.
So something we wanted to highlight today was our Unified Leadership Program, which is a program at Ridge High School that we started this year. The idea is children helping children. And so we have Ridge High School students who are interested in getting involved with whether it be education or some kind of helping profession or helping community. And what they do is they go into other classes and help special education students who could use a little bit of help. Sometimes those special education students might have had the help of an aide. That instructional aide, while they're still there guiding and monitoring, the Unified Leadership student sits next to them and is literally a model. And so instead of focusing on what their project may be in ceramics, they're actually helping the other student make sure they reach their goals. This year, we have had a total of 41 Ridge High School students signed up to be Unified Leaders. We are so very proud of this program. These leaders have taken on the role of leadership in classes throughout the entire building, from electives like woodworking and photo and ceramics to some of our self-contained classes as well. The feedback and the response we have gotten both from our Unified Leaders as well as the students who they are working with has just been outstanding. And the most exciting part about this program is we've noticed the connections with these students outside of those classes. So we've seen these students sitting together at lunch and connecting a little bit outside of school too. It was really nice to see on Halloween. Even some of them had like matching costumes and things like that. So we're so proud of this program, and it just goes to show that sometimes a new program that we think is going to start out really small takes on a life of its own. So we're excited to see where this one goes next.
Another program that we implemented this year was our Thrive program. Some of you may have remembered we had Effective School Solutions that would work with us for the last few years. However, some of our staff members and ourselves thought that maybe we could do this program a little bit better with in-house people because they really know the students here at Ridge and also at Adam. The goal of Thrive is to provide students with the skills to ensure regular school attendance, integration into the classroom, and creative connections in the school building. This program is open for special education and general education students. We did curriculum writing over the summer with some of our SACs and our school psychologists to make sure that students had the opportunity to participate in individual counseling weekly. They work with the students, they work with the parents, and they want to form a safe place that students can go to when they're feeling stressed. We try to deal with school avoidance. A lot of these students have difficulty attending class once they're even in school. We have students that have made suicide attempts. We have students that are stepping down from PHPs and IOP as inpatient. So the purpose of Thrive is really to provide students with the skills to ensure regular school attendance, get them back into the classroom, and create a connection with the school building. The program is going very well, and we're really pleased to see the direction that it's going in. So where are we going moving forward? We want to continue on our after-school intervention programs that we began a few years ago. This is for our struggling learners. We hope to expand the tutor.com pilot program, expansion of unified program, mentoring. We have a mentoring program for our special education students. We'd like to, through the CEIS grant, extend that to our general education students, increase through that grant more counseling and training opportunities for our struggling learners and work with the staff here, continue to expand into the community, which is extremely important for children at the higher levels. We want more inclusion opportunities for our students in the self-contained programs. And we want to make sure that we have program placement and school capacity as our programs begin to grow. So believe it or not, questions.
I think it's always so fascinating to hear what you guys are doing, and it's really so spectacular to hear. I remember you talking about the Unified program last year when you came to curriculum, and to hear that you actually have 41 students. We thought it'd be much smaller, that it'd be hard to grow. I hope you have room, because I think it's going to keep growing for all the students that I think are going to actually trust us. So with that, we are up to our superintendent's report, and there are 2 items. Can I get a motion? Dave and Keith. Does anybody have any questions, or Mr. Marquardt, do you want to address any of the items?
So the first is the HIP report for this meeting, and the second one is for the Village High School wrestling team. I have 3 of the kids competing at the state championship in Atlantic City. So since it's an overnight trip, we need more.
Can we get a roll call?
Ms. White,
Yes.
Dr. McCune,
Yes.
Mr. Menard,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Corrado, Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Talbot,
Yes.
and Mr. O'Malley.
Yes.
Which brings us to public comment on agenda items. If anybody has any comments they want to make, it's on a clipboard. It's back on that back table back there. And it's down there. It's like that. Right there.
Debbie Marcus, 16 Lane. I want to concur with the board's comments. I'm hearing about the special services. It's really amazing everything that you've done, and thank you for sharing and continuing to grow what we can offer. I noticed in the committee notes there was an aspect about offering the TSAT during the week, and I did want to compliment that approach and encourage it to, sounds like it's going to be implemented, but I wanted to just add to that encouragement. In addition to the reasons mentioned in the committee meeting about the sports and other aspects, my daughter was actually precluded from taking the PSAT because it was often on Saturdays and it conflicted with our religion. And at the time it was during COVID, so she couldn't try to take it over to school. And so she was not able to apply for some scholarships that I know kids did who had gone to different schools. So anyway, again, I do hope you go forward with moving the PSAT during the school as well. I did also, it's my understanding that we are adding some supplemental reading for the 2nd grade that was linked to the curriculum minutes and their biographies, which is great. Specifically, there was some on Barack Obama and Sonia Sotomayor and Kamala Harris, which is fine. But it was just interesting. I was wondering if we also have books on other presidents and Supreme Court people who have been in our country over the similar time periods, and it also seems it's not representing a very diverse group of thoughts. So just pointing that out, just making sure that we have balanced access to books, and also more generally, how does one find out about all the books that we have in our district? I did notice, I was happy to see, I looked at the Corners website and they seem to have a catalog online. In a brief look, I didn't see that elsewhere, maybe there is. But it can just be made more transparent. I think that we are always going for transparency. We should be proud of all the things that we can offer our students. And if the library catalog can be made available to all taxpayers, that would be great. But in the meantime, the ones that I have to know about in the 2nd grade, if we can try to make sure there's a better balance of people presented.
Thank you, Dr. Harris. Are there any other comments? With that, we will close public comment. We are up to approval of minutes. May I have a motion? Janice. Roll call?
Ms. White,
Yes.
Dr. McCune,
Yes.
Mr. Menard,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Corrado,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Talbot,
Yes.
and Mr. O'Malley.
Yes.
Before we move on, Ms. Fox, would you like to do this? I'm sorry. Hi.
Sure, I'll take that question. The second grade books that you saw on the curriculum minutes are supplemental to books, the library that we already have. So we certainly have plenty of books on presidents and throughout history in all grades. In particular, those titles were selected for their role in the first woman who was a vice president and Asian, the first man who was black. So that's kind of a first thing where those three came from. We have plenty of other books about presidents and Supreme Court justices in our libraries. You asked where those libraries can be found. I'm not sure what you saw in the report, but I think the Destiny, Follett, library catalog, that's all 6 of our media centers have those posted, and they're searchable databases of every book we have in the media center. So all 6 schools post that. Beyond that, all of the reading materials from our program will be found in the curriculum. So like in the first grade ELA curriculum found online, we would have our mention text and our supplemental resources. So that's where you'll find the vast majority of all the materials that the students are required to read, for sure.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. We are to finance, and there are 13 items. Let's see, is there anything that you want to say?
The other one I really want to point out is number 7, which is on the district prospect. So we got a bunch of bids on that and it came out really well. So I think it's a little under our budget. But I feel like that. The rest of them are pretty good.
May I get a motion? Keith? Robin? Does anybody have any questions? Roll call?
Ms. White?
Yes.
Dr. McCune? Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Malley?
Yes.
No to personnel committee. I don't believe that there's a report. There are 13 items. May I have a motion? Janice and Brett. And a roll call.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Dr. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Malley?
Yes.
We're up to policy, and we have 2 items. Do you want me to do the roll call on this, or have you do the report first? First and second readings. All right, I'll do a motion first. Mike and Dave. Then do the report.
So we met policy on February 13th. A few things. The Working Class Families Anti-Hunger Act has been revised, which necessitated revisions to Policy Guide 8500. The policy was updated to align with the new language of the Act. P 54060 high school graduation, state required FAFSA for graduation. We're going to push that out to parents. That comes from the state outrage. Parents can waive it. We don't anticipate any changes to the second reading, which has been posted. The use of electronic communication devices and policies regarding cell phones. We are waiting to kind of hear the results back from the pilot on the cell phone ban bridge. Likely will be updated after we get the data feedback from the stakeholders. We're discussing consequences for personal device phone violations. We're kind of waiting on the outcome of high school's phone free pilot before finalizing. We talking about the spectator code of conduct for interscholastic events, requiring every New Jersey, the NJSIAA is requiring every school member to adopt a spectator code of conduct policy during the 2024-2025 school year. Mandatory policy has to be updated. We talked about cell phone consequences, trying to prevent suspension. Students missing instructional time. For the 4th time, students will be told they cannot bring their cell phones to school for the rest of year. Regarding AI policy for Berners Township, we're still waiting on results, recommendations from working with Watchung Regional. We are splitting costs, hoping to have more specifics very soon. As we talk about teacher driving students to extracurricular activities. Superintendent discourages it greatly in sort of circumstances it could be possibly feasible. Teachers driving one student, we want to make sure that the two staff members should be in the car. Student transportation key is 600, or cost of any parents want to have another child in the child home will allow the forms to be filled out by having a teacher every summer. And if you're a child of a non-resident who's a staff member, you're eligible to tuition free. All other non-resident because attendant must be charged with appropriate uniform. We don't anticipate any changes to the second year. It's pretty much policy department.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Talbot? Okay, we'll get a roll call.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Dr. McHugh?
Yes.
Mr. Menard?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado? Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Malley?
Yes.
Okay, we're up to curriculum, and there are 3 items. May I have a motion? David and Keith, one new report.
Yes. Are there 3 items or are there 2? Okay. So,
Mr. Molinari,
Yeah.
that third one, we have to add the LIEP resolution for the corrective action.
oh, okay, gotcha. All right, so the first 2 I'll talk about the new courses. We'll talk about the curriculum meeting on February 12th. Enriched geometry. Mr. Colburn explained how this course will better meet students' needs by providing more fulfilling learning enrichment to either support or enhance the study of the mathematical content. One board member asked if this is how we follow other courses like enriched algebra. It's the same idea. It follows the models of other courses in the enriched curriculum. Also discussed was Honors Symphonic Band, and this course is related to the currently approved course Symphonic Band. It has an honors level to be consistent with other instrumental musical offerings. The honors option for Symphonic Band further elevates the course's status and provides students with opportunities for advanced study, leadership, and skill development within the ensemble. This change signals a higher level of rigor and achievement while differentiating it from both concert band and wind ensemble. Both courses fill a need, and other than curriculum writing are revenue neutral. So the committee supports both these courses. Discussion items we talked about. First off, revised requisites for enriched environmental science. There was discussion regarding the revised requisites. Under prerequisites for enriched environmental science, we recommend removing completion of Algebra 2 as a course prerequisite, and that's being looked to implement as soon as possible. Supplemental course titles for second grade, including mystery, biography, and space research units. Mr. Hunter explained expanded reading choices for second grade. Under the mystery category, this is for the book club. The Jensen series will be added to the book club selections, and this is basically a series about an elementary school Sherlock Holmes type character. In biography, we just talked about that public comment, looking to add more current titles for student choice, and these include selections from Nat Geo Kids, Walt Disney, and sports biographies. Space research, updated options are being looked at, and this will make a wider variety of supplemental reading available. And titles will be listed in Rubicon, grade 2 language arts, non-required all choices. All funds are currently allocated in the budget, so there's nothing additional as far as spend. We already talked about the PSAT, the school day administration of it. Mr. Fox and Ms. Fox and Mr. Miziak led this discussion. Scan on that, the PSATs are currently administered outside the school day with students paying for them themselves. Other districts, including Bridgewater, Watchung, Montgomery, and more, will administer during the school day, with some paying for it as well. Discussion was had on whether this was a good idea for us to provide our students, in which grade and at what cost. And depending upon the board's decisions, we cut costs to families roughly in half. The cost to parents this school year was $48 when paid through a payment portal, $40 when paid by check. Mr. Miziak went over the operations portion of this question. Currently, PSATs are offered on Saturday, which does cause disruption during fall sports. Some athletes miss the test and things are scheduled around it. In addition, it's difficult to get proctors at this time of year. During a school day, Rich can do the late opening. Staff will only be there to monitor so there's no disruptions to Saturday activities. Also, it could be an advantage for students to need accommodations.
One board member asked if this could be an alternative pathway for graduation testing, and the answer is yes, it can be done. One board member asked if this would run during regular school day. The answer is it would be too large to work with our challenges. It was also asked if the late opening affords enough time for the testing and logistics involved, and the administration feels positive about this with more control over the timing of the testing. So, discussion was had regarding which grades this should be offered to. One consideration is the National Merit Scholarship is based on 11th grade PSAT scores only. So whether students can take the test multiple times in the class is one question. One board member expressed concern about taking away from the school day, and is this the right move for every student? There was a general agreement that if we decide to do this, it should be offered to 2 grades, 10th and 11th, and to make the late opening worthwhile. And the board needed to make a decision on this by the end of the school year. Next up, Captain Stoller discussed the Language Instructional Education Program, the Corrective Action Plan. Basically, LIEP, a 3-year plan. Submitted to state every 3 years, basically an audit on how we're doing with multilingual learners. We were flagging a few areas, which was really an issue of reporting as opposed to what the district is actually doing. The Language Instructional Educational Plan is a corrective action plan. Every flagged item that we flagged on involves an action that was already underway. Again, it's really more language and how we report it out on things as opposed to any district flagging. So the plan will need board approval, as we already discussed. And Berners Township Anniversary Committee. Ms. Fox was invited to participate. We're planning 2 things: the 265th anniversary of Berners Township and the 250th anniversary of the USA. And we want to think what we can do relative to the celebration, coming up with ideas with the supervisors. The townships, for example, the township is applying to bring the Navy band back. The celebration coincides with Fleet Week. And ideas for school involvement are there. And that's about it.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Mulder? Roll call.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Dr. McKeon? Yes. Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Ms. Levine?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
And Mr. Mahan?
Yes.
And after wellness, we'll be meeting on Thursday, so no report tonight. And facilities and operations. And that brings us to liaison reports. Do we have any reports? Dave?
No report, just real quick, the town council, that we just really short. But the only thing I wanted to bring up was affordable housing, which we all know is coming up, so there's something we can do. We don't know where, how many, what's going on, but definitely it's something.
I have a report from the CPAC committee meeting. CPAC met on Wednesday, January 29th. Topics included performance care services for families in crisis, updates on transition and postgraduate program services, and a discussion regarding inclusion. On January 29th at Oak Street School, CPAC sponsored a presentation on perform care. Perform care is open to any family navigating the complexities of mental health, behavioral challenges, or developmental support for their child. Perform care can connect families with vital resources, services, and support tailored to their child's unique needs. A link to the recorded presentation is available on the BonersPEC.com website. The Ridge Counseling and Special Services Departments will hold a presentation on transitioning to college with an IEP or 504 on Thursday, April 3rd from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at the Ridge Camp. Tours of the Ridge Vocational Program will be offered for rising 9th grade students during a school day in May, so that students can see firsthand what the program is like. Ridge Ready will again be offered for rising 9th graders on August 26th and 27th, leading into freshman orientation on August 28th. Ridge Ready is typically attended by classified students who do not attend ESY. ESY will run from July 7th to August 7th, and case managers will be in touch with families to for volunteer tickets. CPAC shared that they had been discussing what they consider to be meaningful inclusion and to offer parents' perspectives on that. And the next CPAC meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 23rd. Full CPAC minutes are posted on our Facebook page. Thank you. Are there any other liaison report? Okay. That brings us to public comment on non-agenda items. If anybody has any comment they would like to make, step on down to the mic and I'll put the
Forzani, Down Drive. I just have a few points in response to a public comment made at the last board meeting. Obviously, we're all aware of the recent executive orders, but as we've also seen, many of the president's actions over the last month are potentially illegal or unconstitutional and are being challenged in court. Also, in her hearing, Lisa McMahon, Trump's pick to lead the Education Department, said she wants to, quote, return education to the states, and she acknowledged that slashing federal funding for schools, which is allocated by Congress, is not legal, and she agreed that it is not something she would pursue. While in his orders the president is trying to put federal dollars on the line, with existing law, the federal government and the Education Department have no authority over curriculum matters and no unilateral ability to pull back funding from individual schools. Within the last decade, a bipartisan Congress tightened language to make that clear. And executive orders cannot override laws and statutes. I'd like to also point out that I have 4 children that have gone through the Burnett Township School, and none of the hundreds of families that I know are concerned about, quote, radical indoctrination, or worried that our school is sending children for gender-affirming surgeries. What I have found is that teachers here focus on teaching kids how to think, not what to think. And I think it's extremely important now that we continue to respect our teachers and staff and allow them the freedom to develop curriculum and teach critical thinking skills as they've been doing. It's also concerning to me as a resident and parent that the words inclusion and equity are considered dirty words to some. Our schools are responsible for supporting the well-being of all the students in the district, not just some. In my experience, this district has worked very hard to combat bullying and promote kindness, inclusiveness, tolerance, and respect to those who seem, quote, different. Yet even with these efforts, students have a lot of negative influences online, which contributes to ongoing HIV problems. Given what kids are seeing in the news now, I believe it's more important than ever for schools and families together to promote empathy, compassion, and tolerance, and to reject bullying and exclusion. So at the moment, I think the best course of action would be to follow state guidance. I would hate for our school district to make changes that could lead us to being sued for violating state policies or sued for discrimination. Our town elected this board, and I have confidence that you, along with our school leaders, will navigate us through this difficult time and manage our schools in a fiscally responsible and transparent manner, taking into account the values of Bernards Township. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Forzani. Are there any other comments? We've got any closed public comment? With that, we are up to board forum. Does anybody have anything that they would like to discuss?
Just a little bit about what's going on in town, kind of surround sound on the Restore Focus initiative. Heard from several town council members about some of the initiatives that have been going on in the schools, and compared to some of the elementary schools, there's been wait till 8 pledge has been signed. I think 3 grades, at least in Cedar Hill, and several grades at Oak Street, if I'm not mistaken. It's not a lot of people to get those pledges going. It's like I think it's 10 families, and that counts for the grade. But I think it's a start, and I think I think we should be supportive and communicate those efforts that are going on in the larger community. Because I think what we're doing with cell phones in school is good. If it's not complemented by supports once the kids are out of school, it's going to be it's only going to get you halfway to where you want to be. So just keep that in mind. What's going on in the elementary schools? I believe there's champions in the school, and think about that those pledges and some of the other initiatives that are going on around it.
Anyone else have any comments?
brings us to